We're on the Chimney site now. Now, if we were here in August 1997, there would be a huge big concrete stacked chimney, very similar to the one behind me over at Corringham. This land was acquisitioned apparently by Sainsbury's, and part of their brief was that all the oil refinery infrastructure that was put in had to be demolished. They brought in a very, very famous steeplejack called Fred Dibner from Oldham, who came down to survey the job. Fred's speciality was taking down brick chimneys, and he would do this many ways. Climb up to the top, knock the bricks out, let them slide down. Sometimes he'd blow them up. Sometimes he would cut a hole in the bottom part, put wooden pit props in and set them on fire, and then he would just fell it would just fall like a tree. So Fred was briefed to do this job, and he came here, and he knew this was a challenge because this was the tallest chimney that he had ever encountered to demolish, and it was built of concrete. It was a modern build, built in the 70s, with steel wiring going all the way through and all the way round. And Fred and his men worked here for 3 weeks, and they got very, very near. And what they were doing, they were going to fell it. They were going to cut holes in it, and they cut with croppers and with welding equipment, took the wiring out the bottom, the steel wiring and the concrete, put pit props in, and we're going to set them on fire. This was an unusual procedure with Fred because of the materials of what the chimney was built with. The day before the actual demolition was meant to take place, and Sainsbury's had built a big stage and was going to invite the mayor and the MP and all the dignitaries in the area and the television people to see this demolition event. But Fred was standing there a clear 24 hours ahead of it, and he was ahead of the job, and because of the steel wiring that he had taken out, a piece just blew out from the side, and the chimney fell 45 feet. It just stacked down. Fred and his men all stood back, and then it just toppled over and fell into pieces exactly where Fred wanted it to. I was very, very lucky, because 3 days before that event, I walked into the Lobster Smack pub, which is just a mile from here, with a friend of mine down from London, and sitting in the corner was Fred Dibner and his gang. So Fred had a very interesting experience on Canvey Island, and he had never actually had anything like this happen. Fred was a man that was in control, and this was a situation that went sort of out of control, but he'd managed to harness it because he had done the right things in the right order. And Fred always said it was always in the P's. Perfect preparation prepares for perfect performance. He got a lot of that right.
Is that good? Yeah, yep. No, it's good. I can tell you've had...
I went out with Beyond the Point today, Liam and Joe, and I've had a really great day. We grew up with the backdrop of the oil refinery, and this is deeply ingrained into us. Once the band started making some headway and we would go off and gig all over the country, we would come back at all times of the early morning, and we're coming down Canvey Way and having the whole lit up scene of the oil refinery. We knew then that you were home. We're home to Oil City. And all bands have to come from somewhere. There was just something very characteristic about an oil refinery, about the Thames estuary, that made it have this kind of delta feel. There was a parallel that could be drawn with the Deep South and Louisiana, because it's not as vast, but it's a kind of micro image of the blues inheritance area. And when you have a look at the marshlands of Canvey. With a little bit of imagination, you could be in Louisiana, you could be in Mississippi.
Ready?
Okay, this is down by the jetty. This is where Dr. Feelgood filmed our first album, Down by the Jetty, in 1974. Canvey's great. It has everything. It has wonderful nature. It's by the sea. It's near to London. It's a huge industrial backdrop, and it is this fusion of nature, industrialisation, and its growth of people, and now we've got a population of over 60,000, that makes it the place that it is, Canvey Island.